Hello, everyone. Semi-retired Bob here. I talk about the carnivore diet, all things related to the carnivore diet, and miscellaneous odds and ends. I apologize if things look a little bit out of sync today. My computer's got just a little bit of lag in it, but hopefully we can press on through and get some of this done. Rick is in the house. Hello, Rick. And Paul is here as well. And I see John is out there doing his regular Friday afternoon walk while listening. I'm glad you're here, John. Thanks for stopping by. I hope everyone's having a great day. Somebody let me know if you can hear me okay. Looks like Paul and Rick were having a discussion about Muscovy ducks and maybe some chickens. And Patricia is here. She's here early. It's warm and dry in Indiana. It is not super warm, and it's dry here. There was a storm that passed us to the north and another one that passed us to the south, so we didn't get any rain here in Omaha. It's currently 85 degrees outside, but they're calling for a high of about 76 tomorrow. So it's going to be a little warm out at work tonight, but not horrible considering the humidity is down quite a bit. So while it's going to be hot, it's not going to be nearly as humid. And Friday is my short evening anyway. So either way, not too bad. Paul says, hey, I got a job, not exactly the one I wanted, but okay money and temporary to permanent. I start Monday, glad to have an opportunity to achieve my financial goals. Good for you, Paul. I'm glad you are getting back to work. But I did have, it absolutely has nothing to do with carnivore or even this way of eating, but there is a subject that I sort of want to talk about just a little bit if any of you are following the WNBA. Let me take us back. A couple of decades ago when Tiger Woods came on the scene. He was obviously better than anyone else. Yet the people on the PGA Tour realized that a rising tide lifts all boats. So they embraced the fact that he was a lot better than they were. And they all took advantage of the crowds. And now the PGA golf tournament is worth a lot more than it was before Tiger Woods. Now we've got the same thing going on in the WNBA, but this Caitlin Clark phenomenon, she's obviously better and getting a lot of attention. But it seems like the women of the WNBA just want to target her and knock her out of the games rather than jumping on her coattails and riding it. Because if you've been following it at all, she has been the target of many excessive fouls. Yet, every place she goes, they have to move the games from their small WNBA venues to larger venues to accommodate the crowds that want to see her. You would think that they would be a little bit nicer to the person who's changing the face of the WNBA. And the reason I'm talking about this, a rising tide lifting all boats, that happens in the carnivore community a lot. If you watch other YouTube genres, whether it be photography or whatever, it seems like everybody is competing for what seems like a tiny amount of YouTube views. And they take it as a personal insult when somebody else gets a view that they feel like should have been theirs. That's the one thing I haven't really seen in the carnivore community. We are all very happy when somebody else does well, because the more eyeballs we can get on carnivore content, the more it helps everybody out. That's sort of what I want to talk about today. If anybody has any thoughts, feel free to jump into the comments and chime in with your 2 cents worth. But yeah, let's get back to the comments and see what's going on here. Rick has something going on. Waiting for a new rear evaporator for my van. UPS is a day late. Yeah, I saw that video. At least you got the plug on your compressor working properly so that it shuts on and off like it's supposed to, and you have cold air coming out in the front. While it's not as nice as having the back air conditioner working as well, at least you don't have to sweat to death when you take your van out to drive it somewhere. If you guys haven't been following Rick's journey, you should go over and check out his channel after the live stream's over today. John has arrived. Hello, John. Everything's going pretty good here in Omaha. How about out there in the northeastern United States? Everything going okay out there? Rick says he has an iguana in his fridge for dinner. Excellent. It's always nice to know that you're staying true to yourself and you've got an iguana in your fridge for dinner. And Uncle Big Guy is checking in from Kansas. Hello, Uncle Big Guy. I'm glad you're here. And Jonathan is here. Hello, Jonathan. Glad you could make it. Rick says, yes, and one day when I move, I can keep my ducks cool in the van. Yes, indeed. So I saw up in the earlier chats that you have about 15 of them now in your yard. That seems like a nice number. Should keep you in eggs, as well as when one gets aggressive, you can, shall we say, harvest it for the stew pot, perhaps. John has arrived, having trouble with my internet, running really slow and buffering. Took me like 5 minutes to get into this live. Well, I'm glad you made it here, John. Thanks for stopping by. There may be something out there interfering with the internet today because I'm having a little bit of lag issue here myself. It couldn't possibly be because of the that thing that happened on TV last night between a couple of political candidates that's now blowing up the internet. No, it couldn't be that. Things are going okay, except for all the inflation and illegals. Not a good situation, sad to say. I understand. That's part of why I'm moving to this yellow square there behind me in Texas, because, well, I don't really have to worry about people just wandering by my property out in the middle of the desert. It's just not a problem out there. Who wants to go hiking when there's nothing but 70 or 80 miles of desert to the north of them? They're just not going to come out into that section of the desert. NJ is here. Hello, NJ. Glad you're here. Let's see here. Duck eggs are awesome. Yes, I'm sure they are. Yes, that's sort of what I was talking about. I mean, it's kind of hard to call that a debate, wouldn't you say, Rick? It's crazy. Yep. Which is why I was just saying the event that happened on TV last night. Not wanting to get too far into it. I don't personally care which way anybody that's watching this is leaning. I just think that if you have a little bit of a brain, it's pretty self-explanatory, but that's okay. And I understand, John, because the reason you're tired is that it's all the same, the opposite sides of the same coin. That's my opinion anyway. Went to Aldi, eggs were $2.53, same as the regular grocery store. Yep. Aldi has usually had, as I've been looking, Aldi tends to have really good prices on eggs and milk if you happen to be a milk drinker. I am not. I haven't bought milk in decades, but Aldi seems to be a pretty good place for that. And when they have their ground beef on sale, I can tell you that I do like their ground beef better than Walmart ground beef, but normally the Walmart ground beef is a little bit cheaper, which is why I tend to stick with that more often than not. I was just watching differences being sorted out among feathered friends. And yeah, what I keep telling myself is look at how the media pushes us to eat the bad foods and listen to the so-called experts. Yes, indeed. The experts. They really know what's best for us, don't they? And Rick buys milk to make yogurt. And I can totally see that. If you're a fan of yogurt, by all means. Twinbrook Acres has arrived. Hello, Twin. I'm glad you're here. And Gordon Foods is cheaper than Aldi and Walmart. So we don't have Gordon Foods out here. But if they happen to be the thing that's good in your area, then by all means, Dr. Barry just put a short out about this, the difference between grass-finished and grain-finished beef. And, in his very short video, because it was a short, he says what he has said all along and what I have been saying. Is grass-finished better? Yes, it is. But you have to decide for yourself if it's worth the extra price, because while the omega-3 profile, according to Dr. Barry, the omega-3 profile is 3 to 6% better in grass-finished beef. But most of us can't afford to stock our freezer with a bunch of grass-finished beef. So we have to make that choice. And grain-finished, while it does have a lower omega-3 profile and a lower total nutrient profile, it's still so much better for us than any of the, as Rick would call it, duck food that's for sale in the middle of the store. I've often explained this as gold medal food versus silver medal food. Since it's an Olympic year again, we can go back to that analogy. The gold medal food, obviously grass-finished, is the gold medal food. It's the very best there is. But the grain-finished beef and regular raised eggs are the silver medal food. Are they as good as the gold? No, not at all. But they are still better than everything else out there. Let's see here. Okay, I already did that one. Let's see here. I have 2 flies buzzing around my room. Gonna go find the fly swatter. Tarja Mopar, the great white hunter, goes out in search of a fly swatter. Bob, if the omega-3 is an issue, we'll just have some wild salmon every couple of weeks. That'll do it. Me personally, I choose to add, it's not as good as wild, but I just buy the little cans of both salmon and tuna. And I mix that into my ground beef about once a week because I actually think it tastes pretty good. Is it different? Yes. Is it as good as just ground beef by itself? No. But it's plenty tolerable and it adds a different flavor for once a week or so to boost the omega-3 profile. I don't think it's a huge issue because, well, look at me. I've been eating this way for 2 years now, over 2 years. And I don't seem to have any problems. Look at Kelly Hogan. I mean, for the first, 9 years of her journey, she ate McDonald's burger patties. I can't imagine that those have, the McDonald's burger patties are the greatest beef in the world, but they are 100% beef because McDonald's advertises that they are 100% beef. And you can believe that every once in a while, somebody with a chemistry set goes and buys a McDonald's hamburger for the express purpose of testing the burger to see if they can find anything else in it because if they can find a burger that's not 100% beef, they can get a great big payday out of that. And I haven't heard of any lawsuits lately. So while they may not be the best quality beef, they are still 100% beef. And let's see here. Quinbrook says all our meals come from a local farm, no store bought. Yeah, and if you can afford that and you have a local farm that's affordable, that's fantastic. I am hopeful that when I get down to my land in Texas here, that I find a local rancher that is selling beef. And if I go there to pick it up, perhaps it will be cheaper than getting it anywhere else. And that would be absolutely ideal. We'll just have to wait and see. Our guy Russ, the homesick Buckeye, is in the house. Hello, Russ. How you doing today? I hope everything's going well down there in Jacksonville, Florida. And Granny Farrell is here from Central Texas. I'm not exactly sure where she's at, but I know she's in Central Texas somewhere. Very few fully understand that it is high-quality forage crops that make good grass-fed beef. It's not easy. Not all ranchers do it well. Yeah, well, and there's a lot of things that go into it, which is why you see different chemical breakdowns. The studies that I looked at, and these are a year and a half old or so, have the differences in the total nutrient profile. The ones I was looking at weren't actually specific to the omega-3 profile. They were just looking at the total nutrient content. And the total nutrient content was somewhere between 9 and 11% difference. But considering the price difference, you then have to decide for yourself if paying more than twice as much is worth the extra 9 to 11%. For me, it's not. I seem to be doing well on what I've been eating. Now, somewhere down the line from now, when I have several million followers like Dr. Barry has, perhaps I can afford to eat a little better. But right now, we all do the best with what we've got, and that's just the way it is. I certainly can't afford to go out and buy, if you look at either, Dr. Baker or Dr. Chafee, they both have had videos shot of their refrigerators with their big racks of meat ready to go in the fridge. And those look really nice. But if I tried to eat like either one of those two eat, I could afford to eat 3 or 4 days a month, and I'd have to fast the rest of the time. That might be okay for a while, but I would eventually run out of gas for the fasting, so to speak. And I'm not, as we all know, I'm not a huge fan of fasting, especially not long-term fasting. And I agree with Granny Farrell here. Rick needs to make a how I make yogurt video. Just got back from the store because they had butter on sale for $2.99 a pound. When I got there, they were out, so I asked if any more would be coming in. They said they never got any in at all. Oh, that's awful. And it really, surprisingly enough, if you read the label on just the cheap Walmart butter, it's clean butter. Is it as tasty as like any of the Irish grass-fed butters? No, of course not. But it is still a clean butter. The salted butter that I buy has cream and salt in it. That's all it lists for ingredients, so it doesn't have any of that other crap in it that some of the pricier butters will have. So I just stick with Walmart butter. It's too bad that they didn't have any of the sale butter, John. That's too bad. Maybe they'll get some in at some point. Which says, I had a yogurt video before. I need to do it again. Absolutely. Yeah. I've seen some of your fridge videos, Rick. Yep. Dead iguana laying in the fridge. Nothing like nothing better than that. Maybe some duck eggs or a duck all dressed out, ready to go into the fryer. Any of those things would make great videos, especially if you pull the dressed out duck out of the fridge, put it right into the big vat of bubbling hot grease, and cook it up right there on the video. There we go. Yeah, I did not add up the steps for this week because the big reveal is going to be on Tuesday. So I want everybody to tune in for Tuesday's video. I'll have a video out. Of course, there's a video coming out tomorrow that's already queued up in the system. And I've got an interview that's coming out on Sunday, so you can report your steps there. And then I will have a Monday last chance video of some sort talking about, let's see here, because Monday's July the 1st. So I'll have on Monday, that video that comes out is just going to be a wrap up, inviting everybody to get their final step count, and we'll talk about what we're going to do for July and August, which isn't going to be much. We're going to just keep on being 1% better. I don't like to do challenges every month like some of the other channels do. I figure one challenge a couple of times a year, maybe 3 times a year, is plenty, because when we do something as a group, it should be special. And I want everybody most of the time to be concentrating not on what everybody else is doing, but the main person that we should be competing with every day is ourselves. We need to be just a little bit better today than we were yesterday. That's what my channel is all about. If we're all just a little bit better tomorrow than we are today, then we will all slowly improve. Lately, when I time but there aren't enough new videos for me, I'll open someone's available playlist, choose a list, click play all. Lots of minutes watched for people when I do. Yes, I do that. I do that quite often. I will a lot of the time have somebody's playlist playing in the background as I'm doing other things, because just sitting down to watch all of the videos that are out there would take way too much time. But I do usually have somebody's playlist playing in the background while I do other things, which gets then some watch time. And occasionally, if I hear somebody, well, like Dave Mack, occasionally he'll have a guest on that I'm really interested in, so I'll sit down and listen for a few minutes. I don't always get a chance to reply or make comments on everybody's videos, but I do try to comment on the ones I actually sit down and watch. For some reason, Kerrygold butter doesn't agree with me, gives me digestive problems. Yeah, and I think they've got that all sorted out, but once upon a time, I guess Kerrygold was having a problem with whatever kind of coating they were putting in their packaging was found to be leaching into the butter a little bit. I don't know if that's what it was or not, but I do recall from like 6-8 months ago, there was some kind of a problem with Kerrygold, and then I saw somebody else saying that they'd gotten it sorted out. Okay. Well, while we're at a break in the comments, let's go ahead and kick over here, and we'll talk about Cerule for just a minute today. This is the hard sell section of the live stream, so get ready. I'm going to twist your arm. Click on the website. Check it out for yourself. It's helped me. There are a few of you in the chat that it has helped. Go out to the website, read the science. If you think it's something you might want to try, you can buy it right from the website, or you can contact me with any questions. There. How painful was that? Yeah, I'm a real good salesman, aren't I? Now let me go ahead and put the banner up there to thank the channel members for being here, and we'll go back into the comments. John says, Bob, you did do fasting in North Carolina on Sundays. all these Irish butter tastes like Kerrygold to me. Yeah, I did back in the day. I did fasting on Sundays. I was a lot less active then. And I do some fasting during the winters because I'll just, I'm not out as much. I don't do nearly as much fasting in the summertime. I will occasionally not get hungry and I will skip a day here and there during the summer months. But right now, with working at the miniature golf course 3, sometimes 4 days a week, plus the yard work and everything else I'm doing, I get pretty hungry. I have to admit, the heat does not affect me nearly as much as it used to back when I was sick. But I got to tell you, last weekend was a pretty rough weekend for me because it was really hot here. It wasn't so much the heat because, between 95 and 99 degrees is pretty average temperatures for Omaha, Nebraska in the summertime. But the humidity was just gross a couple of those days. And I got videos made on Tuesday and Wednesday, which I actually recorded the video that came out yesterday on Wednesday. And I recorded Saturday's video yesterday. So I've been getting out and walking for the June Walking Challenge every day, but the humidity has been really bad here, and that makes it hard, which is why, I said congratulations in one of my videos to the Tennessee Volunteers for winning the College World Series because they lost to Texas A&M on Saturday, but then they won on Sunday in a 1 o'clock game with the heat index around 115 or so. I don't remember exactly what it was. And then on Monday evening, they played the final game, winner take all. And Tennessee managed to win that. And if I remember right, the heat index was about 120 degrees that day. So they managed to get out there and they managed to survive the heat, which is really all the College World Series is about. And I was really tired. I mean, I was dragging on Tuesday and still didn't feel great on Wednesday. Yesterday, I started to feel a little bit better. And now that it's Friday and I have to go back to work, I actually feel really good today. So the heat kind of sapped it out of me, but I'm certainly doing better now than I was 2 years ago. So we'll see how it goes. In Texas, the HEB brand, and okay. Yeah, as you know, everybody has a local butter that's good. Just look at the packaging, make sure it doesn't have any stupid stuff, because they'll put some stupid stuff in butter to try and make it cheaper. But if you read the packaging, you'll find that, I mean, does Walmart's basic cheap butter taste as good as the Irish butter? No, of course not. But it's good enough. I mean, I use that butter for pretty much everything. I'll melt some of it in the pan to cook my eggs in. I'll melt some of it over my ground beef. When I have a roast, I'll add some butter chunks to a roast. I don't have any problems with basic Walmart butter. So whatever you can put up with, again, it comes back to, is the gold medal food better? Absolutely. But is the additional expense worth it to you? To me, it's not really worth it. Do I like Kerrygold better than Walmart butter? Yes, I absolutely do. But in looking at the difference in cost, it's not worth it to me. That's another one of those things you have to decide for yourself. Sophie's here. Hello, Sophia. I'm glad you're here today. I hope everything's going well. Oh, let's see here. What else was I going to talk about today? That's all just numbers. Where did I put I put a note sheet somewhere, and now I have to try and find it. Yep. Yep. I talked about that. Let's see what else we got there. Yes, indeed. Okay, let's get back to the comments. Now I know what we're going to talk about next. I like the Aldi Irish butter, and it's cheaper than the Kerrygold. Yeah, I've heard that it's good. I haven't actually tried it yet because I haven't needed butter anytime I've gotten over to Aldi's, and I tend, unless I'm at the store looking for something, I don't really look for it. Like when I go to Aldi's, I'm usually looking for ground beef. I'll take a look at some of their other beef in case there's something else on sale. But when I go to Aldi's, I'm primarily looking for ground beef because I tend to keep, I get the Walmart butter in the 2 1-pound packages. And I tend to keep a couple of those in the fridge. So I almost always have 4 pounds of butter in my fridge just in case I need it. So I haven't actually gotten to Aldi's when I was looking at butter. If I happen to be there and I see some of that, I will probably try it at some point. And hello to you too. I can't pronounce your name. I'm not going to try to, but I'm glad you're here. Thanks for stopping in. And Sophie says, I try to get Cornish butter in the UK, but get other butter if I can. Okay. I ran out of collagen active for a bit, so after a short washout time, I started a trial run with Active joint. Didn't seem to do as much as me. Currently stacking them, still using the SCU and the PF, the plasma flow, and the yes, absolutely. When I first started the Cerule products, I used the Active joint and the Active, and on the recommendation of Professor K, I dropped the Active joint and went to the Collagen Active. And I have gotten really good results with that. I mean, I'm sure I was getting plenty of collagen. I don't know that it's actually doing anything for me. I can't say yes it is or no it's not. However, my nails are growing like weeds, and I've never experienced that before. As you can see, my hair looks significantly darker than it did a few months ago. So does the Collagen Active work? I don't know, but I feel pretty good, so I'm not going to stop it now. They really try hiding the butter here. Okay. And Keto Carney Cajun is running late, just saying cheers. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for stopping by. And again, if anybody has a subject they'd like to talk about, feel free to drop that in the comments because we still got, not quite a half hour left, about 25 minutes left before I have to get out of here and go to work. But I'm happy to talk about just about anything. Yes, indeed. One of the subjects that I've been meaning to make a video about but haven't, and now's as good a time to any to talk about it. It's not as specific to carnivores because we tend to just eat animal products. But for those of you, I like to watch the Keto Chow Facebook group because I do support Keto Chow. It's not, I don't have the regular Keto Chow shakes very often, but I do, I like their salty, their electrolyte supplements, the daily minerals that Dr. Barry made for me. I like that kind of stuff. And to keep track of all this stuff, I belong to a couple of Facebook groups that talk about it. And I see people all the time in there saying, well, can't I make Keto Chow with almond milk or oat milk or whatever that is? And I just want to scream. It's like, why would you want to do that? The only reason they call almond milk is I firmly believe that nobody can say nut juice with a straight face. And that's the only reason it's called almond milk, because milk comes from mammals. and that's it. Everything else is highly processed plant crap. Almond milk is not milk. It's nut juice. Rick says, I wish UPS would hurry up and get here. Yeah, because I'd like to see you get that rear evaporator in for your air conditioning, get it all blowing nice and cold, and then you can cruise around South Florida in style while you're sitting in there nice and cold and everybody else is kind of sweating in their semi-functioning air conditionings. I found a 3-pack of grass-fed, grass-finished ground beef at Aldi for $15.96. It was a total of 4 pounds of meat, so it was $3.99 a pound. I thought that was a pretty good deal. Yes, and $3.99 a pound is a very good deal. If I could find grass-finished beef at $3.99 a pound, I would certainly try some. It's more than I'm paying for ground beef, but I would be willing to pay a little bit more to try stuff like that. I'm just not willing to pay, $5.99, $6.99, or $7.99 a pound when on average I'm getting ground beef from Walmart, depending on where the sales are dropping, anywhere from $2.89 a pound to $3.19 a pound. Give me just a second here. Because I buy it in those 10-pound chubs. It just depends on where the price point falls that week, but it's usually, somewhere between $28 and $32. And if it's right at $32, that's only $3.20 a pound. So I'm keeping everything very, very cheap for myself. Less of the often painful popping and clicking in my knees. I understand. Let's see here. In my almost 30-year-old van down by the river. Yes, 30-year-old van down by the river. And, I've seen a lot of jokes about that where people are saying, gosh, if the economy keeps going like this, I'm going to end up living in my van down by the river. Like that's some kind of a punishment. What about those of us that have been looking at van life for a really long time and our ultimate dream is to live in a van down by the river? Ground beef at the moment, all I can afford. Yes, I understand. And that's why, we had that talk, like I was saying earlier, for some of you that may have arrived late. Dr. Berry, I don't know if he just put it out or if it just happened to pop up on my feed, but Dr. Berry had a little short out talking about the difference in the omega-3 profile between feedlot beef and grass-finished beef. And depending on which study you're looking at, it's from 3 to 6% difference. And it's the same thing I've been saying since the start of this channel. Eat what you can afford. If you can afford the grass-fed, grass-finished, panda-massaged meat, I'm very happy for you. I hope you enjoy it. Me personally, as a retiree on a fixed income, I can't afford to eat that kind of stuff. So I buy what I can afford, and that's what everybody here should also be doing. Don't think that you have to eat the very best food available because you're going to go broke. And if you go broke, then you're going to be stuck, buying boxes of macaroni and cheese, which aren't good for you, or ramen noodles, which aren't good for you. So buy the best food you can afford that's sustainable for you. There have been no sales in beef here since May. Yeah, I'm going to get out and look around because it may not be beef, but I bet there's going to be a lot of hot dog sales because the 4th of July is coming up next Thursday. I'm guessing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Most of them are going to be crap, like Ballpark Franks. Yeah, I'm not eating that stuff. But if there are hot dog sales because of the 4th, perhaps I can get my hands on a sale of 100% beef franks. And I do still like hot dogs. And I have nothing against them, especially if, they're the clean all beef ones. Yeah, they may have one carb per, but if you can get your hands on them on sale, it's still probably worth having some, because throwing a big pile of hot dogs out on the grill is still a really good way to spend the day. Yes, Van Nomad Life is sounding pretty dreamy these days. Yes, I agree. Thanks for stopping by, Shay Wolf. And that's why I skipped over. I mean, I have the trailer. It's converted into a camper. And I was originally going to go traveling in it, but this yellow square of land behind me popped up, and I decided to go straight into that rather than traveling the country because, well, I'm 60 plus years old now. And if I feel really good, but if I were to spend the next 3 to 5 years traveling and then find a chunk of land to try and build out my retirement home, I'm going to be out there in the desert trying to get things going when I'm 68, 69, 70 years old. And that seems like it might be a little bit too hard, even for somebody who's carnivore. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I might get down there and just completely and totally fail, but I'm certainly going to give it a good go. I had a friend who was living in an ambulance. Yeah, there are ambulances out there, and depending on how much build you want to put in the van, because I've seen some people that have taken the ambulances and stripped everything out of them and built their own build. But there's also a couple of people out there that have been in their ambulances for a couple of years, and all of the stuff, all of the cabinets and things are still there from when it was being used as an ambulance. They just throw their stuff in the cabinets, put their bed where the cot was. They don't have a lot of walking around space, which is why I see people tearing them out and rebuilding them so that they have a little more interior space. But if you're looking to get into a vehicle, even if you're not looking to live in it full time, if you're looking to just have something to travel with, because motels are expensive these days, just buying a used ambulance, making sure it's road ready. You can throw a cot in the back of it, throw your clothes in the cabinet, throw your food in another cabinet. You'll, of course, have to add a fridge and a freezer if you're a carnivore, because you're going to want some meat along with you. But they're still very easy to convert, because you don't really have to do a lot of conversion to those. You can just basically load your stuff into them and go, which is very attractive for a lot of people. Sophia, beef hot dogs are still beef. The ones with the lowest carbs I can find are kosher, which I'm not picky about, but I can encourage the store to keep them in stock. Yes. And if we happen to get, like I said, this is the week to watch. You have to watch the hamburgers that are pre-made. Sometimes they'll add stuff to those. So you want to make sure you read the package to make sure it's 100% beef. And the hot dogs, you want to get the 100% beef, nothing added hot dogs. But because the 4th of July is coming up, this is the week to go check the store for sales on that kind of stuff and fill your freezer full. The higher the fat content, the cheaper the meat here. Yes, and I like that just fine. I mean, the ground beef I buy is the 73-27. I like 80-20 better, but because the 80-20, when you cook that up, if you let it sit in the skillet and cool off just a little bit, it will reabsorb most of the grease that renders out of it. With the 73-27, I end up pouring a little bit off into my other skillet because it won't all reabsorb. But eggs are very good at soaking up grease. So I'll cook a big pan of the 73-27 and whatever doesn't get reabsorbed, I'll pour that off into my other skillet and scramble my eggs with the leftover tallow from cooking the ground beef. And the eggs do a really good job of soaking all that up so that I get to eat all of what I paid for in the ground beef. Occasionally there's still a little extra, but for the most part, I get most of it down. Next time I get a sale on ground beef, I'm going to make carnivore tacos. That sounds good. They look at me like I'm from Mars when I ask for high-fat meat. And usually, 5%. And now one of the things you can do, if the grocery store has a butcher working at it, and most grocery stores do, they actually get their steaks in big chunks and they cut them into steaks in the back room. And one of the things they do is they trim the fat off of them. That's how I get trays of fat from my grocery store down the street. But the other thing you can do with those is you can ask the butcher, you can say, I'd like to have 5 of those T-bones that are on sale this week, but could I get some that haven't been trimmed? I would like all of the extra fat that most people trim off. Because let's face it, most people, they don't like the fat, or they believe that the fat is bad for them. And usually the butcher will be quite happy to go in the back and get you 5 of whatever happened to be on sale that haven't been trimmed and packaged up yet, because that's less work from them. They don't have to trim them up and then package them up and seal them and price them and all that. They can just take them as is, throw them in a package, throw a price tag on them, and hand them to you. So most butchers at most decent grocery stores will do that. Some places they won't, because the butcher comes in for just a couple hours in the morning and sets up all the meat for the rack that day, and then he goes on to whatever else he does. But most places that have a butcher that's there most of the day will do that for you. It's something worth checking into. Again, just to keep you up to date on the schedule for those of you that have arrived late, I did not go over the total steps for today because on Monday, even though that's the first, on Monday, I'm going to put out a last chance video to get your last totals of steps in. I've got a video that's coming out tomorrow, and I've got an interview that's coming out on Sunday. And then on Monday, the 1st, I'm going to put out a last chance report your steps type video, as well as talking about whatever it is I'm going to talk about that day. I haven't really decided yet. I'll probably record Monday's video tomorrow. But that'll be coming out, and then Tuesday's video will be the final recap of the June walking challenge. I'll announce how many steps we got as a group, how I think it went, all that kind of stuff. And we'll be talking about what we're going to do, which, as I've said before, we're not really doing anything extra for July or August, because I think that when we do a channel-wide challenge, it should be something special, not everybody looking at it, oh, what are we doing this month? What are we doing this month? No. We're going to have a couple of challenges a year, maybe 3, just depends on what I come up with. And the rest of the time, I want everyone concentrating on challenging themselves to be a little better than they were yesterday, because that's what my channel is all about. Being a little bit better today than you were yesterday will make it so that when you're a little bit better tomorrow than you were today, over the course of time, you'll find yourself doing things that you never thought you could do. Like for me, moving to this chunk of land down in Texas to build my own house. Or as of right now, just cutting my own grass and going to work out in the heat of the Omaha summer. That's something that 2 years ago I wouldn't have even dreamed of doing. I was, after my heart surgery, I was working at the miniature golf course, but I wasn't really working at the miniature golf course. It was more of a gift from Dave, the owner. He went out and bought this really nice stool for me to sit on, and I'd go down one night a week, either Friday night or Saturday night, and I'd only be there for about 3 hours. I'd just sit on the stool and talk to customers because that's, as we all know, Bob loves to talk, and talking to customers was one of my best skills. It still is. So, and it was more like a let's do something to get Bob out of the house deal for Dave. After my heart surgery, I'd go down, like I said, I'd go down there and sit on the stool for a couple of hours, sometimes 3, sometimes 4, but never more than 4. And he would never leave me alone at the course. But since Carnivore, I'm his employee again. I mean, I go in and I close, I open, I do everything that needs to be done. And he has no problem leaving me alone at the course. Heck, last Saturday, even in the heat, he never even called. Usually he'll call to see how things are going, but he must have been into something because he just put a pool into his backyard and he's been finishing up. He's got a waterfall back there now and a few other things he's been working on. And he just got busy with doing stuff last Saturday and never called. I was just down there at the course by myself in the heat, and he never had a problem, never got concerned enough to give me a call to see how things were going. He just knew that when it was time to close, I would handle it, and he had no worries about it. Whereas between when my heart surgery was and when I started Carnivore, he never would have done any of that. Rick's got a couple more comments there. If you have any last minute questions or comments, now's the time to get them in because we're getting really short on time here. Because I have to leave really close to on time today because I have to be, it's 3:22 now, and I like to be to the golf course by 4 o'clock. So I have to, once the live stream's over, I really have to get moving. And Rick says his channel is about being a big quack. Yeah, if you like ducks, Rick's channel is a good place to go, but he also fixes a lot of his own stuff. So if you ever wanted to know how to recondition a payphone or fix your own air conditioning or many other things, you can learn how to do that from Rick's channel, provided your equipment is as old as his. Yeah, it's kind of interesting to compare Bob at age 56 to Rick at age 56. I can't even begin to pronounce that, but hello, I'm glad you're here. And before I let you go, since Rick made this comment about Bob at 56 and Rick at 56, it's not age 56. I was 59 in this little quick video. I was 59 when I first started, but here's a quick little video I have from just 2 years ago.
Hello everyone, semi-retired Bob here. Welcome back to the channel. Before I get into today's topic.
Yep, that was me just 2 short years ago. I think the difference is pretty pronounced. It's entirely up to you to make your own decision, but I'd have to say the carnivore diet's been a really big success. And there's some more people saying hello to Rick, and I'm glad everybody was here today. I hope everybody has a great day, had a great week, and has a great weekend, because we're getting there. It's been a good week. It's supposed to be much, much cooler. It's mid 80s today, but tomorrow it's supposed to be high of 70-ish. So it's supposed to be really nice tomorrow and Sunday. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, this is one of my favorite videos every week because I get to spend time just talking with you guys Sometimes I have a subject to talk about. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes we just sit here and hang out for an hour. And that's really my favorite thing, is to sit here and just hang out with you guys for an hour. But that's what I've got for you today, today's live stream. I'm glad you stopped by. Don't forget, get out there, be 1% better. Today, tomorrow, and every day. Remember, the only person you're competing against is yourself. Have a great day, folks. I'll see you in the next one.